Welcome to a special episode of Capturing the Intangibles, where today we discuss closing the book on 2020 and excitement and expectations of 2021. Or will it be some sort of horrifying sequel? Either way, we wanted to provide a wide perspective from our colleagues on 2021, perspectives from a technology company. Let us know your feedback. Hey, Massimo, welcome into 2021. Any initial thoughts or feelings on your first few weeks in the new year?
Well, very interesting. I defeated COVID. So,
yeah, that's right.
I got COVID just before the Christmas, 3 days fever, and I thought I'm out of it. But then I still, felt very tired, bad condition, when you walk and so on. Finally, end of last week, I got, tested negative, and I feel now much better. The old Massimo. So that's the way I've started at 21. So
oh my God, that's really interesting because I in the intro we talk a lot about, is this going to be an excitement year? Is it somehow going to be different, or is it a continuation? And unfortunately, you kind of spent it as a continuation. But hey, maybe your break point was just this artificial date of transitioning to a new year was just a little bit different for you, maybe, let's say.
Exactly. So yeah, for me, it feels like a continuation of, even if I know we get in the vaccines and so on and we work from home, it feels more a continuation. But I'm glad I have had it. So maybe I have antibodies and I, can now go for the 21.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think we're all really looking forward to when we can get back to however you want to define normal life. For us, it's seeing each other, it's traveling, visiting our teams, and ultimately doing a lot more work together in person. But so what we're going to do here today is a little bit different of a show. We're going to get a few different reflections on 2020 and expectations of moving into 2021 from a wide range of our colleagues here at Infor, mainly to get those unique perspectives, but to also see how different departments and people or roles might share in thoughts and experiences. And obviously this is from the perspective of a technology company, but I think it's something that we're going to see and get feedback is very closely aligned to other organizations' experience as well.
Absolutely.
So what we've done is we've brought in several leaders from Infor. So we've got Eric Ryerson as an SVP from development, representing the development side of the house. Glynis Lee from HR as our VP of Inclusion and Community, and also Lindsay Drake, who's our Chief of Staff and kind of represents the finance and operations side of the house. So really an all-star cast of incredible people that we all appreciate, love, really endorse. And then of course us two, I guess, which maybe not all-star, but yeah, it's okay. But with that said, does that sort of agenda kind of fit? Is that something you're excited about? So
yeah, absolutely. I want to hear their perspective and see, what they think, how 2020 was, and hopefully, how 21 will be, right? So,
yeah,
I'm looking forward to hear their perspective.
All right, awesome. So let's go ahead and kick it off with Eric and get his perspective.
So 2020, huh? My thoughts? Are you kidding? So that's quite a topic. And as we pivot into 21, I'm glad 2020 is over. Honestly, there's no way it could be over fast enough between the pandemic and the political turmoil and everything else. It's just been nuts. The thoughts come to mind, though, for sure, especially around 21, as we go from one to the other. I don't see super clean, huge pivots, right? It's just more a little bit of a continuum of what's been going on. And I think that a couple ideas come to mind, right? In terms of what we do at work here, certainly chaos engineering comes to mind. 2020 wasn't chaos. I don't know what was. Another theme for me is resiliency, human resiliency in particular, is a big factor, right? In terms of how we get through this. Adversity, as we know, makes us stronger and so forth. And, I see parallels here between our economy, our democracy, our health, and what we do at work with chaos engineering. We need to make systems that are resilient, right? That are bulletproof, that can get through anything and keep on moving for our customers. And ultimately, I see the same thread in people's spirits and in what people are doing to compensate for the challenges that we've had, and the optimism, right? And the knowledge that, we will make it work. Even if times are tough, we'll get through those and we'll learn from them. And so to me, that's kind of what the pivot on the year sums up as is. It's really chaos theory, chaos engineering. Stuff's going to happen. It's naive to think that 21 is going to be perfect, right? Some friends are joking with 2021, the sequel. Well, but the reality is we need to decide how much of that is going to be over us, or how much of that are we going to get in control of. And that's where, when we design systems anyway, we try to think about those things, right? What's the worst case scenario? What could I do to these applications and these servers and so forth to tip them over so that we are stronger for it in the future? And hopefully the same is true around our ability to become immune to this vaccine, to this pandemic, and leverage the vaccine. And then, of course, stabilize our country. And so a lot of these themes kind of run together for me. I have infinite optimism, really, around our ability to solve technical problems in our applications, in our platforms, and also in the human spirit, and being able to solve problems as we go forward. There's nothing we can't do. I do believe that. So we just need to work together. Anyway, so cheers to 2021. Thanks.
Okay, great. Eric, thanks for your perspective there. Massimo, any initial thoughts or feedback?
Yeah, by the way, Eric is an incredible, executive at Infor, has delivered a lot of innovations and a lot of capabilities. And I think what he's talking about, the chaos engineering, I really like that. It really fits our culture of experimenting, try to innovate, try things, maybe fail sometimes, but then fail quickly and recover and move on to the next innovation, right? So I think that this type of flexibility and agility, we will need to have more and more, because maybe after pandemic there is going to be a lot of excitement in terms of the economy and things that we can do. Maybe new startups, new careers, or new other things that we want to do, and being more agile, more flexible, but more faster in innovation is going to be very important. It's going to be our renaissance almost of the world. After the pandemic, you're going to see a new renaissance where people are going to travel, people are going to go on holidays, and people are going to want to innovate, in technology, right? So that's really, that mindset is going to change. And chaos engineering is a way to try things and see if they work. So even if at a company like Infor, or a bigger company, you should be able to do that. It's just not only for the startups; it should be for everybody, right? So
yeah, absolutely, couldn't agree more. It's interesting because Nunzio and I have been talking a lot about this concept of chaos theory and how it's going to really drive at least a lot of our strategy and where we think the world's kind of heading. And Eric goes into, as you mentioned, this chaos engineering and how we need to embrace that. But I also think chaos engineering in and of itself is sort of changing. It's not necessarily just about looking for that risk mitigation scenarios, but how can you embrace things like innovation? And we're in these unique scenarios. It's like this coming together of our environment of constantly being at our computers, which you could argue is maybe a bad thing to a certain degree. But, a lot of companies have the ability now to almost focus on their technology landscape, and this thought of how do you handle chaos, not just in the form of what could go wrong, but what opportunities might I have? It really is the opportunity to embrace that. And I think that's something that you're going to see a lot in 2021.
Absolutely.
Okay, great. Now let's kick it over to Glynis and try to get her outlook for 2021.
Okay.
Hi, everyone. I'm Glynis Lee. I'm one of the global HR leaders here at Infor, overseeing our inclusion and community efforts, HR technology, and learning and development. I am so glad 2020 is behind us, and I'm looking forward to new and great things in 2021. Well, at least I thought 2021 was the beginning of something new and great, but I tell you, these first 2 weeks have been nothing short of eventful. There are so many things that are just continuing to keep us on this roller coaster of emotions. And it's just, all you can say some days is wow. But let me be very clear. I learned a lot in 2020. I mastered the new fashion trend of upperwear. So not only have I mastered this trend, it has certainly fueled my online shopping habit. But there will be no more oops moments on video calls because I will always be presentable, at least from the waist up. I learned how to set clear boundaries. My number one rule, if this meeting is scheduled before 8 a.m. Eastern Standard Time, I will not be on video. Do not expect me to be on camera. That's just my rule, my boundary. But I think the one thing that I'm probably most excited about is that I believe I gained an honorary certification in first grade education. And that was certainly a career move that wasn't on my radar. But hopefully the grades of my students here will reflect my competency in this area, as I am still struggling a bit with that new math, as I'm sure many parents are. So, as its name suggests, 2020 was certainly a year of vision. Many things were revealed to us both personally and professionally. We found ourselves in the middle of a global pandemic. This past year has revealed disparities in our healthcare system, our education system, flaws in our economic perspectives, and social injustice. But it also taught us a lot about ourselves and our capacity to adapt, to create, and to innovate. We began to focus on things that were most important to us, the people that were most important to us. We were able to see the resilience, the perseverance, and the dedication of many, from our frontline workers to our students that had to adapt to virtual learning, to employees that are managing full-time jobs and careers, as well as their full-time parent and caregiver responsibilities, and doing all of this simultaneously. Again, our capacity to innovate, to create, and to adapt was revealed to us as we traveled and journeyed through the challenges of 2020. And as we are entering into 2021, I am so honored and excited to be a part of the Infor family as we, Infor, are poised to totally disrupt the technology market. And we recognize that our talent, each and every one of our employees, are our most valuable asset in doing so. So as a part of the HR leadership here at Infor, we are going to be working aggressively during 2021 to make Infor known in the technology industry for a world-class inclusive culture, increased diversity representation across all categories, expanded career development and progression for our employees, including access and opportunity, with a strong focus on internal mobility to recognize and reward our talent. And also a strategic focus on early and career talent to cultivate and develop that talent as these young people enter into their professional careers. And all of these imperatives, they're based upon the clear principles of our market-based management philosophy, making sure that we demonstrate respect, humility, stewardship, and compliance and collaboration in every single interaction. So, keep your eye on Infor. We are all in this journey. And welcome to 2021.
Fantastic. Massimo, initial thoughts on anything that Glennis had to offer?
Yeah, I think it is really amazing to see, as a really proof point that a diverse team really works and makes a difference, in innovation, in technology and collaboration and so on. Take our team, I think we work with more than 40 nationalities, 40 different perspectives, and that doesn't reach the product big time, right? And I even myself, I really want to be surrounded by a lot of opinions and perspective, so that I can as a leader make a very good decision. And I want people really to come to me and give their perspective. So you have a culture where everybody brings a perspective because they are hired to do that. There is a famous quote from Steve Jobs: "I'm hiring you because I want you to tell me what to do. It shouldn't be that I'm telling you what to do, because then I wouldn't need you to hire," right? And so that talent, the perspective, that's amazing. And we're gonna do more in 21. We're gonna look really for people that like the experimentation, like Eric was talking about. They dare to do it. They are not afraid of it. And we're gonna help them to nurture the culture that try things out, innovate, and help our customers, to be successful with these technologies, because that's going to be very important. And the perspective of diversity and inclusion brings also a global perspective, that we will be able to serve our customers the entire world, because we know all the cultures, and all these cultures are part of the team, and therefore we can help also customers in every region. That's actually something that people don't talk, but having a diverse team helps you also to have a global execution, essentially, as well.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, the biggest thing that I took away from Glynis's perspective is, I think she said the saying of employees being your biggest asset. Mm-hmm. We've talked about this on previous episodes, and I think 2020 highlighted that and brought that to the forefront of almost every conversation, because you had to have this ability to adapt, but also disrupt. How do you continue to create new business models and this sort of concept of disruption? But 2020 almost made it evident that you can't be so adherent to a structure. So when I say structure, I'm talking about an office, typical meeting structure, typical execution engine that we all build as a part of like a process. And you know how I feel about process, but yeah. Mm-hmm. But what it highlighted is that you really, really, really have to rely upon your top talent to carry the organization and the goals of that organization, because we're also connected but disconnected at the same time. And the diversity aspect of, I honestly can say that I think throughout this experience of 2020, even though we're all virtual, it has expanded my network so much. I know so many more people from different backgrounds, different cultures, that it's really put a spotlight on top talent and who has the most unique perspectives and who can bring the most to the table. And I think that sets us up really well for 2021. So if there's one sort of bright spot of 2020, it's how these interactions and reliance or lack of reliance on structure, highlighting your employees and how much they matter. That's really a beneficiary of what we've been going through, right?
Yeah, absolutely. And I don't know if everybody knows or likes Simon Sinek, but he always has this example, like, they ask to CEOs, he asks, what's more important? And the CIO says, "Oh, my customers." And his perspective is, actually, it's your employees. Because if your employees are good, then your customers are taken care of, right? And so that's a very important concept, that a lot of companies maybe put customer first, but then not employee first. But then if you don't put employee first, how will you serve your customers? Right. So that's what I like from her perspective, that that culture to nurture the development of the employee and the talent. It was really very interesting.
Yep, fantastic. Okay, now let's get Lindsay's perspective.
Hey, this is Lindsay Drake. So I'm thinking back on 2020. It was a doozy of a year. I think felt like the hits kept on coming. It was tough. I know that most of us had to really, did a lot of soul searching and had to adapt to constantly changing environments with our family, our health, our communities, our society. It just seemed like we never got a break. It was exhausting. I'm sure most people watching this probably feel exhausted in some way, shape, or form. I know I found it really challenging at many points, which is why I'm very much looking forward to what will be brighter days in 2021. I have to think that it's going to be a better year. I don't think there's much that could compare to 2020. So I'm really optimistic about what's going to be on in 2021. I think there's going to be a lot more hugs. That's what I hope. Seeing family, friends, colleagues, community. It'll be really nice when we're able to ground ourselves back together. I think everyone's done an amazing job of keeping up with their families, their friends, their communities in this virtual world, but it's not the same. I'm really looking forward to, hugs and traveling and seeing people in person, face to face. I think we've probably got a lot of Zoom fatigue across everyone right now. And then I think from a company standpoint too, I'm really looking forward to what we're going to do this coming year to set us up for the growth that we want to have in 2025. And so I think it'll be a year of focus where hopefully some of the challenges of 2020 are behind us. We can see them in the rearview mirror and we can get on to whatever the new normal of life looks like and really focus on doing what we need to do for our families, our communities, our jobs, our projects, and hopefully with many great times ahead. So here's to a good 2021. I've got to think it's going to be a lot better than where we've just been.
Okay, Massimo, any thoughts on Lindsay's perspective?
Yeah, Lindsay's perspective was really, she touched me in a way that it was really personal, and there's a lot of things that I can relate to. The fact that you are a leader or a large organization and a large team, and the fact that you can't go and visit them, you cannot have these in-person conversations about any topics. It could be a customer issue, or it could be a new innovation that we want to build, a new design, or a very nice whiteboard session where we dream up a new product or a new service. The fact that you're missing that, the fact that you go out with your team, have a nice dinner, and conversate also on other topics than outside your work. The fact that we cannot do that, and yes, you can have maybe some 5 o'clock happy hours virtual, but it's not the same as you would do that in person, right? I cannot see if someone is happy or not from a camera, right? So you can see it just in person. You just can feel it like that. Like, okay, Joe or Susan is they have some issues. Let me go and talk to them. You cannot see through the camera, and that's the issue. So really, that has been challenging. And even if we work in a team that we know each other for years, that actually it's already an advantage, at least, but it's still a big challenge. And I think in 21, hopefully we can really go back and meet the people, travel again and meet the people. And so that will help a lot on the career, the innovation, the customer success, and the happiness of people as well. So I think we need really to go to get back on that. And I hope that we talked about before, the vaccine really are going to get rolled out, and maybe by the summer, after the summer, we can really start to travel again as we were doing before, and enjoying the life and the work, and working with the customers and with the colleagues, with the employees we were talking about. So hopefully that's going to come back.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, look, 2020 was hard, and the personal interaction side was the hardest of all for me personally as well. That's why I really enjoyed Lindsay's perspective. So despite finding ways to make remote work, I mean, we're a tech company, and it should be inherently easier for us, I guess. But as you mentioned, that personal interaction is so important. I mean, how much work do we get done outside of the typical work hours that you don't really get into when you're in these, like, as I talked about earlier, this structure of daily work, right? Like that personal side is so important. And I guess the biggest takeaway for me of this is that I'm really hoping that companies and organizations don't let 2020 define your budget, because human interaction is so important. And we have to realize that, yes, we can do things remotely, and that's great. We've found ways to highlight our best employees, but there is a such thing as this virtual fatigue. And we really need to avoid it, because there's so many things. Like, of course, we want to continuously innovate. We're talking about from the technology side, but there are things that's ingrained in us as humans that make us really good as employees at our jobs. And I think everything that Lindsay was talking about and highlighting puts a spotlight on exactly that. Right?
Absolutely. I totally agree. I think that if after the pandemic, people think maybe we can downsize the offices, everybody goes home, you only meet virtually, I don't think that we will be very successful in our job. We need that capability to meet people in person. If that is going away, I don't think that the IT world will be successful in the long term. Sure, we can do more things virtually, absolutely. But if that is taken away completely, we're gonna be in trouble, big time.
Yeah, I mean, 2020 is the exception. It's not now the rule book.
Exactly.
And that's what I'm hoping that we all avoid, is that pitfall.
Yeah, absolutely. Totally agree.
Massimo, I've really enjoyed it. Lastly, to close out this episode, we have to let the peacock fly. So let's bring on the charisma leader of Infor and get his perspective, Mr. Nunzio Esposito.
Hey. Just taking out the garbage here. It's kind of how I feel about 2020. Definitely a lot of excitement over the last year. A lot of new things have emerged. New usability strategy, new alignment with executive leadership. And I think more importantly, an appreciation and a learning for working from home, the trials and tribulations that we're all faced, and the perseverance to ensure that, all of us can continue to go on. I would tell you, the thing that I think I learned the most for 2020 is just the sheer excitement of a new year, which I think is, obviously ahead of us. I think what it's taught myself, other than the fact that, maybe I do need a haircut, is the idea that, all of us, when we come together and we have some common goals, we achieve and we inspire. And, I'm sitting here trying to record myself as I'm going to get the mail and take out the garbage. But 2021 is really going to be a precedent for the combination and the culmination of our talent and our perspectives to do things to really catapult new outcomes. And I think it's something that is just a part of the ebb and flow of all of our demeanor, due to the fact that, it's so hard for us to even fathom and quantify what we all were up against in 2020. Personally, professionally, mentally, our physical, mental well-being. It feels like now that there is a unity around being opportunistic and successful in all of our little micro moments. And I'm just really excited to work with all of you.
Thanks for checking out the episode, and please be sure to subscribe across our various channels and leave us feedback on our content or any topics you might be interested in. Until next time, stay focused, stay safe, stay happy. Cheers.